those tests that are coming back positive is also increased. That number is now up to 3.4%. That is up from 2.8% previous week. 3% is the cutoff that a lot of national experts say is where you really want to be under. So this is an indicator that there is ongoing spread of the disease and that we are not simply seeing more cases just because we are doing increased testing. So we're seeing outbreaks in multiple settings, including bars, churches, offices, gyms, long-term facilities, weddings, family dinners, parties. People are gathering. What we also know is that there are many cases where we do not know the source of the spread. And this is really important. This means that it is spreading in the community, and that's even more importantly why we should all be wearing our masks. The age distribution for cases has also changed. So now the group with the highest of new cases is the 20 to 29 age group, and that is followed by the 30 to 39-year-old group. So this is a really important point. Young people have to understand that they are not immune to this disease. Young people can get very sick from this disease, they can be hospitalized, and they can even die. Even if someone no longer needs to be in the hospital, there are possible long-term health impacts from COVID-19, many of which are still unknown. People can have persistent lung damage. We're seeing studies and reports of possible long-term brain damage and psychiatric challenges as a result of COVID-19 infection. And even if you don't get very ill from the disease, think about the people that you can sit to. People with underlying medical conditions, those who are older, people who could easily lose their lives. We know of families that have lost multiple people across generations because of COVID-19. So regardless of how old you are, do the right thing, not just for yourself, but for the people in your household, your family, and your community. No one knows how this disease could impact them. So just do everything you can to not get it. Wear your mask, wash your hands, and do not participate in large gatherings. It's very simple. So the increasing numbers we're seeing across the state also shows the critical need for testing and contact tracing, which we've talked a lot about, and which we continue to ramp up here in Michigan. We've continued to see a steady increase in testing over the last week, and we're moving closer to our goal of 30,000 tests per day. So testing is central to our ability to be able to contain COVID-19. So I urge everyone, again, please get tested if you're working outside the home. If you feel sick or if you've been close to someone who's been diagnosed with COVID-19 or they're having symptoms, you should get tested. The state has over 300 testing sites that are available. Many of them are also no cost. You can find a test site at michigan.gov/coronavirus test. We've also partnered with 211, so you can call them to get assistance in getting a testing site. We're also continuing to make good progress with our contact tracing, to reach at least 90% of people within 48 hours of a positive test. However, unfortunately, we are completing over 70% of those interviews within that time. And so we are continuing to have challenges with people not answering their phone, public health staff call. Please pick up the phone if you see a call from your local health department. We're also seeing that in about a third of cases, people who test positive for the disease are not giving public health staff the information about their close contacts, even if they do pick up the phone. So we understand that individuals may feel uncomfortable about giving out names and contact information of their friends and family. We understand that. But please know that we do not share this information. But we will try to contact these individuals to make sure they know that they should quarantine and potentially get tested themselves. So this case investigation and contact tracing work is so important if we're going to be able to successfully slow the spread of the disease in our state. The state's also pushed millions of dollars out in funding to our local health departments so that we can hire case investigators and contact tracers for the fall. This will be incredibly important as we prepare for potential second surge. We don't expect there to be a widely available vaccine for COVID-19 for several months. We all know there is no antiviral treatment. So the most important thing, and really the only thing we can do to prevent spread of the disease, is to not come in contact with the virus in the first place. This means basic public health practices like washing hands, maintaining 6 feet of distance between you and other people, and wearing masks. And talk a little bit more about masks and why they're so important. So COVID-19 is spread, it's a virus. It's spread through droplets, through the air, and they spread when people are doing simple things like coughing, sneezing, yelling, talking, or just simply breathing. Those droplets travel through the air. They can land on your face or in your mouth, your nose, your eyes, and once that's how people get infected. This is not a new concept. Okay, healthcare workers have been using masks to prevent all kinds of respiratory diseases for quite a long time. Masks work. A simple cloth face covering can reduce the chance of spreading the virus by about 70%. We've heard that talked about today. So I just want everyone to know this is not a joke. It is not a hoax. This is not about politics. Just wear your mask because you want to live and you want to protect those around you. It's one easy action that makes us all safer. I know it's been hard. For more than 4 months, everyone's lives have been completely changed. We can't do some of the things that we were doing before. But we can get through this together, and we will. And it will be so much easier, and fewer people will lose their lives if we are all patient and band together to fight this disease. So thank you, and I'll turn it over to Mark Burton.
Thank you, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Dr. Jay. Good afternoon, everybody. Following the outbreak of COVID-19, small businesses have faced significant economic impacts, including challenges with cash flow and resources needed to support their employees. At the same time, communities around the state have realized once again just how vital small businesses are to their economic health and livelihoods. Michigan's food and agricultural industry has also been hit by the outbreak and finds itself in need of additional support as Michigan farms and agricultural processors work to keep their employees and the state's food supply safe from the virus. It could not be more clear that the Michigan Small Business Restart Grant Program and the Michigan Agricultural Safety Grant Program, which as of 9 a.m. this morning are now both accepting applications at michiganbusiness.org, are more important than ever for Michigan to address the impacts of the ongoing pandemic here in our state. MEDC is in a position to start getting $115 million in federal funds into the hands of businesses, nonprofits, and farms across the state just 2 weeks after being signed into law by the governor, providing a crucial infusion of capital to support the path to economic recovery in our state. The $100 million for Restart grants are up to $20,000 each and will provide small businesses and nonprofits working capital to support payroll expenses, rent, mortgage payments, and similar expenses. To make it as simple as possible, there is a single statewide application at michiganbusiness.org. All application reviews and grant disbursements will be administered by 15 local economic development organization partners covering all 83 counties to ensure local priorities and needs are taken into account. Decisions on Restart grant awards will be after the application period closes on August 5th, and it is important to note that this program is not a first-come, first-serve situation. MEDC is also proud to be working with our partners at the Department of Agriculture and Development and at Greenstone Farm Credit Services to get $15 million in federal CARES Act funds into the hands of farms and food processors to support critical costs around COVID testing, PPE, employee training, improved sanitation, and temporary housing issues. With these 2 additional grant programs authorized just last week, the MEDC team has now deployed 17 different COVID response programs in just 4 months. These programs have directly supported more than 3,400 Michigan companies across all 83 counties, retain nearly 15,000 jobs for Michigan workers, and facilitated the production of more than 5.5 million units of PPE and other critical support. Also made it a focus to ensure recovery efforts focus on economic opportunities for all businesses throughout Michigan. To date, 42% of relief efforts deployed by the MEDC have gone to disadvantaged areas across the state. And we will also be working closely with partners to meet statutory requirement that 30% of the Restart grant funds be allocated to women, minority, and/or veteran-owned businesses. Targeted relief programs like these provide a lifeline to help our small businesses, communities, entrepreneurs, and workers weather the immediate crisis. In the meantime, our team at the MEDC, who have worked so hard, so quickly to bring these programs to life, continue to focus on creating a long-term runway for economic recovery by growing businesses and resilient, diverse, and vibrant communities long after this crisis concludes. Once again, detailed information and applications for both programs are available at michiganbusiness.org, and we encourage business owners, farmers, entrepreneurs, and others who may qualify for these resources to visit the site to learn more today. And finally, best way to help with economic recovery across the state is to mask up, practice social distancing, and follow directives. The only way we can ensure full economic recovery is to mitigate this threat to public health. Thank you again.
All right. Thank you, Director. Thank you, Dr. J, Lieutenant Governor. I am happy to open it up for a few questions.
Governor, can you talk? So many parents at home wondering about school in the fall, the method you're going to use, and what a deadline would be for them to expect a decision as to whether schools can actually open.
So, as you'll recall, with the council's recommendation and the executive order that reflected the work that they did, we have articulated a number of things for different phases of the My Safe Start re-engagement. Schools are to have plans for Phase 3, Phase 4, and Phase 5, depending on what phase a particular region is in. For instance, currently right now, if you're a school board in the UP, there are a number of recommendations, there are some requirements, but largely there's quite a bit of discretion that the school boards have to determine what school is going to look like. If you're in Phase 4, which is 6 out of 8 regions in the state, there are a lot more things that are required to be in that plan, but still it is incumbent on the school board to come up with a Phase 3 plan, Phase 4 plan, Phase 5 plan. The troubling thing about the numbers of where we are now, how many cases today, Dr. J? About 900? It's 900 cases today. It's the largest number we've had since May 14th. All right? So that's the trajectory that we're currently on. That's why masking up is so important right now. We are hold on to staying in Phase 4. But if that trajectory continues, and we have to move some regions back to Phase 3, that means there will not be in-person instruction, and the school board plans about how they're going to deliver remote education are going to be utilized. And so what I can tell you is that if the numbers keep going where they're going, it's going to be very problematic, and we may very likely have to take some steps backwards. What I can't tell you is what are we going to do between now and that 55 days. If the majority of us mask up, if all of us mask up, every kid will be in school this fall. If everyone masks up, we're going to see our numbers plummet, and our economy is going to get stronger. If everyone masks up, we'll move the whole state into Phase 5 and re-engage in a way that will envy of every other state in the nation. Now, if some of us mask up, well, we're going to watch the numbers and see where our caseloads go. But as we know, that the critical numbers we've been watching are that we've increased our testing, which is something that is a great tribute to Dr. J and our health department doing incredible work. Our percent of positive cases in those tests that are being done, the number of hospitalizations. We know that's an indicator, but still it is something that we watch closely. So these are factors. When will we have to make a decision so schools know which way it's going? It's going to be a lot closer to that start date, because I'm hopeful that in the coming weeks we're going to see these numbers go down, and perhaps we can solidify at least Phase 4, maybe even re-engage more things in our economy.
We are going to interrupt the governor of Michigan. That's because President Trump quickly got off Air Force One and is ready to speak in Atlanta, Georgia. Let's listen in.
Everybody, thank you. Thank you. great honor. Please, thank you. Sit down, please. It's great to be with you. Great company and wonderful location. Quick flight. It's in and out, but we have some big things to say. Carol, I want to thank you also for doing such an incredible job at this company. I look at your numbers and I'm very jealous. A lot of people are very jealous. But I'm delighted to be back in Atlanta, Georgia. Special place. The hometown of one of the most amazing companies on earth, UPS. They never fail. The dedicated men and women of UPS are an inspiration to us all. In the face of every challenge, you always come for your fellow citizens. Would you say that's correct? I say it's correct. Let me start by expressing my gratitude to every driver, worker, and employee who has contributed to this great success and continue to deliver for America throughout our battle against the China virus. It goes by many different names, about 21 that I can figure. We maybe will use a different one every time we hit it. But whatever it is, it was a terrible thing, and it could have been stopped, and it should have been stopped right where it started, in China. Together, we will defeat this virus and emerge stronger than ever before. We're here today to celebrate a historic breakthrough that will transform the lives of workers and families all across our nation. For decades, the single biggest obstacle to building a modern transportation system has been the mountains and mountains of bureaucratic red tape in Washington, D.C. Before I took office, reviews for highways ballooned to an average of nearly 750 pages in length, and they were the good ones. They were the short ones. And I know because I was in business for a long time, and I had to go through a process that was so ridiculous. It was so ridiculous. We went through a process for building buildings, usually. It would take forever. The time you start building, the market changed. You said, you know, the market was good when we started. Now the market's like, you say, the hell with it. We won't build. Sometimes you start building and you say, that was a mistake. But we went through years and years of litigation and tumult, and it was just not good. But you go through it to an even greater extent. The maze-like approval process represented lobbyists that were very rich. They were making a lot of money. I remember I'd go up to Albany, New York, and I'd see my lobbyists up there. I said, what are you doing here? I knew what they were doing. They were trying to make it more difficult. So you had to hire them for more and more work, spend millions of dollars for nothing. But too often they caused massive delays on top of everything else. And that way they got their fees over a longer period of time. It's one of the reasons why, for example, the average Atlanta driver spends an incredible 77 hours in traffic during a short period of time. But all of that ends today. We're doing something very dramatic. We completed an unprecedented, and I want to say it's absolutely unprecedented, top-bottom overhaul, should have been done years ago, of the infrastructure approval process, this approval process that has cost trillions of dollars over the years for our country and delays like you wouldn't believe. This is a truly historic breakthrough, which means better roads, bridges, tunnels, and highways for every UPS driver and every citizen all across our land. Together, we're reclaiming America's proud heritage as a nation of builders and a nation that can get things done. Because with these horrible roadblocks that were put in front of us, you couldn't get it done. No matter how good you were, you couldn't get it done. You'd wait and wait. You'd go to the next step. You say, you can't start the next step until you finish the first. Joining us for the special occasion are Council of Environment Quality Chairman Mary Neumeyer. Where's Mary? Mary. Thank you, Mary. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mary. Good. Secretary of Transportation, a very special woman, a great woman, somebody that has done an incredible job, Elaine Chapman. Elaine. And she was very much instrumental in this done. And when Elaine speaks, we all listen. But she was very much instrumental. Secretary of Agriculture, a man who's done a fantastic job for our farmers and ranchers, Purdue. Sonny. I learned more about farming from Sonny Perdue than all of these consultants that came in. I learned more in a half an hour from that man right there. We had a great call today with the farmers, too. Great call. They're doing very well. A lot of good things have happened, right, Sonny? A lot of things have happened. They were targeted by China. They were targeted by others. We just signed the USMCA, which is phenomenal for our country and our farmers. Got rid of one of the worst trade deals in history, NAFTA. One of the worst trade deals ever. How anybody could have signed it. But worse, how anybody could have let it run for 25 years or whatever it was. They just took advantage of us. We had 60,000 empty plants, factories in our country by the time that mess got finished. So we just signed a great deal, USMCA. It's the largest trade deal ever made. Mexico, Canada, the largest ever made. I know Sonny would like me to thank the UPS, all of the drivers and workers for all of the help in delivering nearly 30 million meals to rural children throughout the country for our Meals to You program. Meals to You. You know what that is? Meals to You. You do, right? We're also pleased to be joined by a great senator, somebody that's done a phenomenal job. And I can tell you, look, he's a friend of mine, so I'm a little prejudiced, but he's a man that's respected by everybody on both sides of the U.S. Senate. He works hard. He loves your state. And I always say, does David get the kind of recognition that he deserves? Because he is a very, very special man. David Perdue. Where's David? Thank you. And a woman who's done a great job, and she's been so supportive of me and the agenda, and a good person, a good woman, with a husband who's a terrific man. Senator Kelly Loeffler, thank you very much. Thank you, Kelly. Great job, Kelly. And warriors, these are warriors. These people fought for us through thick and thin, through very, very unfair territory. We were treated terribly, and they came in and they turned out to be tougher than the other side by a lot. And I just want to introduce Representatives Rick Allen. Rick. Thanks, Rick. The great Buddy Carter. Buddy. An incredible spokesman, an incredible man and friend, Doug Collins. Doug, thank you, Doug. Great job, Doug. Drew Ferguson. Drew, thank you very much, Drew. Jody Heiss. Jody, thank you, Jody. Great job, Jody. And Barry Loudermilk. Barry, thank you very much. And also two people, friends of mine, they'll be there soon, in my opinion, because they have to be, because we need all the help we can get in Washington. Karen Handel. Karen, thank you very much, Karen. Thank you, Karen. And Rich McCormick. Rich, thank you. They'll be there soon, I hope. I hope. We need them. We need them. Get them in there. Thank you as well to a man who I became very good friends with, a man who was running against somebody that was unbeatable, running against a superstar. I said, oh, she's a superstar, wow. Can you beat superstars? I don't think so, but he figured out how to beat a superstar, and I don't know, is she still a superstar, Brian? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't think so. I don't know. Superstars don't lose, do they? Governor Brian Kemp. I'll tell you, what a warrior he is. He's tough. He's tough, and he's done a great job, and you've done a great job in every aspect of running this incredible state, and I've always been there for you. He was saying when we met at the plane, everything we've needed in Georgia, you've been there for, and that's right. That's right. Perhaps more important than Brian, however, right? Far more important is Georgia First Lady Marty Kemp. Thank you very much, Marty. And watch, please, those mail-in ballots. You're going to watch World War and people went to vote. Now they're saying, let's use this as a chance not to vote. And there's been tremendous corruption on mail-in. So absentee ballot, great. Mail-in ballot, absolutely no good. It makes no sense. A governor sends out millions of ballots all over the place. They don't know where they're going. They're going to wherever. I have a friend who got one for his daughter, another one for his daughter, and then a second one for the first daughter. They didn't know what to do with them. I had another friend, a really wonderful guy who's lost a son 7 years ago, Robert, his son Robert, and his son was sent a mail-in ballot. He called me, he said, what do? I just got a mail-in ballot for Robert. Robert died 7 years ago. It's a terrible situation if they decide to use it, and we'll see what happens. There's a lot of litigation, a lot of court cases right now. And it makes sense. Just think of it. Millions of ballots in California. They're sending out millions of ballots. They don't even know who. Maybe they know too well sending them to. And maybe it's the people that don't get it. Maybe it's an area of Republicans or Democrats that don't happen to get any ballots. We've had a lot of problems. Just take a look at what's gone on over the last month. And take a look at Paterson, New Jersey. Small city in New Jersey. I think they said something like 20% of the ballots were corrupted or something happened with them. 20%. And even in the 2016 election, 1% are in question. But I don't want to talk about that one because I won, so I don't want anyone going back and looking, all right? I'm not going to talk about 2016. That was the greatest election, and now we have to do something very important. We have to keep it going, or this country will be in big, big trouble. I want to thank also for being here, Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr. You're the one. Watch that, Chris, will you? You're going to watch that, Chris, please, okay? You got to speak to the man that handles it. You know what I'm talking about. Got to do it. Thank you, Chris. It's in good hands. Superintendent Richard Woods. Richard, thank you very much. Thank you. And members of the Georgia Public Service Commission and the State Senate and House Transportation Committees. Got a lot of politicians in this room. And really, good luck to Karen and to Rich. Go out and go get them. You're great people. Today's action is part of my administration's fierce commitment to slashing the web of endless bureaucracy that is holding back our citizens. I've been wanting to do this from day one, and we started it on day one, literally on day one, but it takes a long time. You have statutory requirements, a lot of different roadblocks, even to changing it, but the change you'll be hearing about in a minute. And it's one of the biggest things we can be doing for our country. The last administration increased the Federal Register by 16,000 pages of job-killing regulations. Under my administration, we have cut the Federal Register by nearly 25,000 pages, more than any president in history, whether it's 4 years, 8 years, or in one case more. And we, frankly, this I would think is maybe the biggest of all. We did the U.S. Waters, you saw that, the U.S. Waters Act, that was a big one. That was a big one. I thought I was going to take a lot of heat when I did that, and instead it was just the opposite. People came up, grown men that had never cried, even when they were a baby. They were standing behind me when I signed that bill, White House, and they were crying. They were crying because we gave their life back to them. That took their life, took their livelihood away. It was a big, big moment. But this is a big moment today, probably, possibly equally as big. Today's action completely modernizes the environmental review process under the National Environmental Policy Act of 1969. We are cutting the federal permitting timeline from a staggering 10 years, 15 years, 18 years, 21 years. You know the story, you've seen it. Projects are out. A young guy heads the project. By the time it gets approved or disapproved, and many is disapproved, usually disapproved, he's getting ready to retire. What did you do for your life? I worked on one project. We didn't get it through in the end. Now, we won't do projects through for environmental reasons. They have to be environmentally sound. But you know what? We're going to know in a year. We're going to a year and a half. We're not going to know in 20 years. So we're cutting the full permitting timeline for a major project from up to 20 years or more, hard to believe, down to 2 years or less. So we have it down to about 2 years now, Elaine, and I think 2 years or less. And our goal is 1 year. And you may get disapproved. They may vote at the end. They didn't like something environmentally or safety-wise, and I'm all for that. But you're not going to devote a lifetime to doing a project that doesn't get approved or disapproved. And oftentimes when it gets approved, it comes in at 10, 20, 30 times the cost. There's a highway in a certain state, short road, not even a highway, I guess, more of a roadway. And they put in, it was a straight line from point to point. By the time they finished it 18 years later, it was this. It cost tens of times. It costs many, many, many times more than the original. Is a dangerous roadway. There's turns. You got to be in good shape. You got to be wide awake to make those turns. You got to see things. You have to see the guardrails. Boom. They had a simple straight roadway, and now they build it. They took 17 years to get it approved, ended up costing many, many times what the original estimates were, and it's no good. It's not good. Under the last administration, a mere 7% reviews for federal highways were processed within 2 years. Now, what we're doing is the 2 years won't be the exception, it'll be the rule. So what we're doing is we're going to have that coming down at a much steeper rate. This will reduce approval times for highways alone by at least 70%. But the 7% is a very unambitious number because the number is going to be actually much lower than that. At the heart of the reforms is the one federal decision policy. It spells it out when you hear that name, one federal decision. Before, applicants for infrastructure were forced to spend years and years navigating a labyrinth of federal agencies, and every single one had a power to stop a project. Anytime you went to an agency, they had a power to stop it. And it would stop the project, not only stop it, right in its tracks it would stop it. With our reforms, there will be one quick and fair decision. We're going to give every project a clear answer, yes or no. Yes or no. The 2-year process where just to submit is 2 years is not acceptable. It's going to be a very yes or no after study, but the studies are going to go quickly, and they're going to go simultaneously. So if you're in numerous agencies, you're all going at the same time, instead of waiting for 1, for 2, for 3, and oftentimes you'd go through one, it would take you 6 months, and then you have to wait 90 days, and then you have a review period, and then you start the second one, and now you go for another 4 months, and then you wait 90 days, and you have a review period. Sometimes you had to go through 9, 10, 12 different agencies. So even if you did absolute rapid, it was many, many years before you could even think about starting it. We have up here, that's a chart of the old system and the new system. And I think the new system is better. I think it's better not only in time, I think it's better in terms of the process, and I think better in terms of the importance from an environmental and a safety standpoint. But take a look at that. This is what you had to go through. In fact, it was much more dramatic when I first came up with this about a year ago. We took that and we rolled it out. It was so dramatic, and it's going and going. So the difference is that, and many of those steps you had to wait before you could even think about going to the next one, and you had to get full approvals. Any one of those colors where there was a problem or a rejection meant it's dead. And now you go through this very simple but very comprehensive solution. And it's a beautiful thing, especially if you understand construction and building and other things beyond building, like I do. At the same time, we'll maintain America's gold standard environmental protections. The United States will continue to have among the very cleanest air and cleanest water on earth, which we do now. We have the cleanest that we've ever had, meaning ever, meaning I guess in the last 40 years. I assume that 200 years ago was cleaner. I can imagine it was very clean a couple of 100 years ago, Brian. They'll say, that's why I'm very careful with the fake news media, because if I say that, we have the cleanest water we've ever had, they said, what about 200 years ago before anybody touched it? When the lake was a beautiful virgin lake, nobody ever touched it. They said, yeah, they got me on that one, don't they, huh? So now I become extremely careful. So I say probably they're talking about 35, 40 years, something like that. If it's any different from that, media, we will, look at all those people back there. Any different than that, we will report to you. We will make an amendment. We'll never make a correction, because I don't like doing that. One of the first projects tolerated by these reforms will be the planned expansion of I-75 right here in Georgia. That's in honor of your wife, in honor of Marty. Okay, that's in honor of Marty. They've been looking to do that for many years, right? But the governor's going to get it done. This expansion will add 77 new lane miles of commercial vehicles, like those driven by UPS, saving drivers countless hundreds of hours a year. With us today is Julian Polk, a Teamster. I know the Teamsters very well at UPS who drives this route often. Julian, please come up and tell your story, please. Thank you. Thanks, Julian.
Good afternoon. Hi, my name is Julian Polk. It's a great honor to be in front. I'm especially grateful for my wife being here with me today for 14 years. I spent the first 16 years of my career driving a package car, going from house to house. But in my last 3 years, I've been in the big rigs, mostly on 75. And throughout 75, we have approximately 765 trucks in Metro Atlanta. 64 of those travel from McDonough to Macon, Georgia, which is about 100 miles round trip. So with the congestion and all of that, it kind of makes it to where it's hard to get there and create all the time commits. So every time I've loaded my truck, whether it was medical equipment, gift to someone's, a loved one, that time in transit was very important. So with the infrastructure is very important to me and all of my fellow UPSers, because the investment in our roads and bridges help reduce congestion and open up the bottlenecks, which makes it easier to get the packages where they need to go. More importantly, safe for drivers like myself, because the most important stop of the day is when I get back home to her and my two beautiful kids. So, thank you. 14 years ago at my local hub in Forest Park with the support of the management team, I started the corporate health and safety process. And throughout that team, we were able to lower the accidents and injuries, which we know accidents on the road slows down time in transit. So we're able to, since then, we've stopped all of that, or most of it. So I'd like to close by saying thank you to my wife for being here, to everyone that has supported me, especially my division manager, Tom Rosilio. He has supported me in my career and for the grateful opportunity to be here today.
Fantastic job. Thank you. But Julian, it looks like you're attributing a lot of your success to your wife. Is that a correct statement? Would you please stand up? So lovely. Thank you. That's great. Great job. You're proud of what you just did, I think, huh? Pretty good. You'll be running for office next week. Watch. Great, Julian. Thank you. I'd like to invite UPS's Vice President of Corporate Transportation, Bill Taylor, up to say a few words. Please, Bill. Thank you, Bill. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. For visiting the UPS Gateway, President Trump, thank you very much. I am so proud to be a 7-year veteran of this great company. I started my UPS career as a part-time hourly employee when I was still in school back in 1983. When I graduated from college, I went into management. Throughout my career, I've had the opportunity to work in our airline, in our freight transportation operations, and also in our package delivery operations throughout the United States. I'm now preparing to retire. When I think about UPS, all of us at UPS, and Julian's a great example, all of us at UPS worked through some very tough times through our careers, whether it's hurricanes and natural disasters or some type of national event like 9/11 and now COVID-19. But all of us at UPS also look at that as a great opportunity to serve this great country and help bring the country through and remedy those tough situations. You look at Project Air Bridge under the Trump administration and working directly with FEMA, another great example. From a UPS standpoint, we are all tremendously proud to help deliver life-saving supplies wherever and whenever they are needed. From an infrastructure standpoint, I know firsthand that improvements in our infrastructure will be a tremendous benefit to not only our customers, but also the community that we serve. But when I think about UPS, I know how strong our technology is. I know how strong our flexible, multimodal transportation network is. And I know all UPSers are dedicated to making a difference in helping bring America forward. So as I think about ending my career, I am very grateful to retire with a strong pension plan. I hope the same for all essential workers who have a pension plan currently hung up, that they can enjoy the same when their work is over. So thank you, UPS, for a wonderful career and the great opportunity to work with so many wonderful people through the years to help make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bill, and good luck. Carol, I don't think I'd let him retire. He's got about 30 years in him at UPS. Can't believe you're retiring. That's terrible. Do you want to retire, or do you want to stay? Because they'll renew you for 25 more years. You've got it. You've done a fantastic job very much. Thank you, Bill. Really great job. Here, as well as Commissioner of Georgia Department of Transportation, Russell McMurray. Russell, please come up a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, it was an honor for me to meet with you in Washington, D.C. at the U.S. DOT with Secretary Elaine Chao and some other state DOT commissioners from around the nation for us to share with you this long, burdensome, often bureaucratic process, and you sat and listened to us with great detail that day. And today, at the end of the day, too, I might add that the President told us, the DOT commissioners there in the room, that he was going to run the environmental process, cut the red tape, and make sure that the environment is protected, for one. So today is a full circle day for me, Mr. President, that here we are today with the President and the Trump administration rolling out yet another, not the first, but another environmental process improvement that will make life much easier for people like us at the Departments of Transportation across the nation to deliver infrastructure projects like the I-75 commercial vehicle lanes to move that freight out of Savannah to Atlanta and beyond, while providing a safe corridor for the many families that travel on I-75. Now, I certainly want to acknowledge someone else that is laser focused on streamlining government and red tape, and that's our Governor, Brian Kemp. Governor, I appreciate your focus to transportation and infrastructure. It certainly makes my life a lot easier, so thank you. Now, finally, I'd just like to recognize somebody else, and the President acknowledged her earlier, but the leadership exemplified by Secretary Elaine Chao at the U.S. DOT is exceptional. We have never experienced the kind of cooperation we at the Georgia DOT's never experienced this type of cooperation from your administration, Mr. President, that we enjoy today. So thank you for your leadership, and thank you for the partnership you share not only with Georgia but all the states. Mr. President, thank you for mapping. Thank you.
And Russell so well, because there have been many steps that we've made over the course of the last 3 years that allowed us to get to this big giant step. This is a big deal. And this is front page all over this country. And frankly, nobody realizes what it means other than the people that are in this room and others that do what you do. But the fact is, this is something that nobody thought was possible. But it was all those little steps, Russell, that allowed us to get to this step, bureaucratically and in every other way. So thank you very much, and you've done a great job. Appreciate it. We're also joined by Janelle King, a small business owner here in Atlanta. Janelle, please come up and say a few words, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Governor Kemp. And thank you, UPS, for delivering all my on time. I am Janelle King. Together, my husband, Kelvin King, and I, he's the one that really goes through all of this. I serve as VP of External Affairs with Osprey Management, which is such an honor. We have 10 employees that are, by which one of them received their United States citizenship this morning, so that's awesome. We have over 150 subcontractors. We have a number of projects that are taking place throughout the state. And our ability to harness opportunities and supply our clients with on-time projects promptly is extremely important. Several have proposed fantastic ideas and aid to developing new forms of commuting, red tape and restrictions have hindered these ideas and have due to extensive permitting and impact studies that increase timelines. Well, Mr. President, you have shown what leadership can do when you reform the old way of doing things. Infrastructure reform and building new roads faster will not only help our company to achieve our project goals, but they will help the entire state, economically and socially. So I would like to personally thank you for placing the constituents in the forefront of your list and addressing our infrastructure concerns, and our governor and first lady for working along with you and so we can get this done, and to our senators, Senator David Perdue and Senator Kelly Loeffler, for always being available as well. Thank you so much.
And look how proud your husband is of you. He had that camera up. That camera wasn't moving down. I'll tell you, he captured every word. That's great. Beautiful family. Thank you very much. One of the things I'll tell you that the governor and I are working on projects that are going to be big surprises for you. Big ones, big projects that you've been talking about for 20 years, I guess, in one case. So we'll get them done. I'm sure we'll get them done. And I want to thank you all. Great presentations. Thank you all very much. My administration has also moved full speed ahead on improving the Port of Savannah, which is now the largest agriculture exporting port in the entire United States. Largest in the country. As many of you know, this project faced 20 years of unnecessary delays. This has been going on for years. Came to me and the governor said, "Can you help us with this?" I said, "We'll help you with it. What's the story?" It's been going on for years and years. They've been talking about it. Nothing ever happened. It was also 8 years of additional bureaucratic reviews. Just reviews. This isn't like, oh, gee, let's start digging. This is paperwork. People made a lot of money. It's a terrible thing. It just gets caught up like so many other places. But all ending now. Bureaucratic reviews under the Obama-Biden administration have been a disaster. They got worse. But I'm proud to report that for 3 straight years under my administration, we've delivered full funding for the Port of Savannah, and we're on track to complete the project in a very short period of time. It's going to be completed, right? Okay? In honor of the governor. In honor of the governor and Marty. Good. Congratulations. That was a great job. They've been fighting for that one for a long time. You got it done. We want a governor that gets it done. Even though he calls me all the time, can we get it done? I wish he wouldn't call so much. But you know, that's the sign of a good governor, right? When you think, right? Stand up, please. That's the sign of a governor. I like the ones that don't call, Brian, where they just leave me alone, but their project happens. Great job, you do. Great job. We want the United States to compete and win in the 21st century. And that means we will not allow our nation to be hamstrung by wasteful Washington regulations. We're the nation that built the Golden Gate Bridge in 4 years, the Hoover Dam in 5 years. And a lot of people don't understand this, but it's so true. We built the Empire State Building in less than a year. Can you imagine that? The administration, our past vice president, opposes, think of this, all of our permitting reforms and wants to increase the length of the permitting process. Think of this. This is in his Bernie Sanders deal. Biden is happy to tie up projects in red tape, and we want to get things built. But they want to increase the length, so they want to increase it from that to much longer. Unbelievable. Biden wants to massively re-regulate the energy economy, rejoin the Paris Climate Accord, which would kill our energy, and you'd have to close 25% of your businesses and kill oil and gas development. They still haven't explained what they're going to do to power our great plants and factories, but at some point I'm sure they will. We'll learn that from AOC, who's in charge of energy. She's along with Bernie. It's AOC and Bernie are in charge of energy. I don't think Texas is happy about that. What do you think? You think we'll call up the governor? Governor Abbott, great governor, will ask, how do you like that, Governor? I didn't want to waste the phone call because I would know how he felt. And wants to hold hostage billions in federal surface transportation grants for states and localities unless the states and local suburban communities abolish single-family zoning rules. So they want low-income housing to be built in communities that, frankly, they don't want it. They don't want it. Hasn't worked out. And we're terminating that. As you know, I announced it 2 weeks ago. We're going to be eliminating that rule. It's a crazy rule, and it's very unfair to a lot of people. A lot of people are very unhappy. It should not take 10 years or more just to get approval for a simple stretch of road. Special interests in Washington will never begin. They will never begin to let you breathe. They will never. That's not their business. Their business is the opposite. And we will do those wherever necessary in order to make sure everything happens and happens quickly. We're not giving a veto for one thing: America's future. There will never be a veto for America's future. So my goal, my mission, and my commitment to each of you is very simple. America's infrastructure will be the envy of the entire world, as it was many, many years ago. We built the interstate highway system during the Eisenhower administration, a long time ago. And since then, it's gotten worse and worse and worse, and bureaucratic and more bureaucratic. And now we're freeing up, and we're going back probably to around 1952. We're going back to a long time ago. And again, you have to get permits. We want safety. We want to be totally involved with the environment. We want our environment to be better than it would be the other way, the long way. But you're going to get your answers quickly. One way or the other, you're going to get those answers very quickly. And if the answer is a big, beautiful yes, start construction immediately. You're not going to wait around for 10, 12, and 20 years. Our bridges, tunnels, freeways, and airports will no longer be the site of shame, but be a source of pride. From coast to coast, town to town, we're constructing new roads, railways, runways, and waterways. You know, we had many cases where they'll get federal funding to build a highway, then it'll take them forever to get the approval. And by the time they have it approved, they need 10 times more money. They come back to the federal government. And the government would usually turn them down. They say that wasn't the deal. But sometimes they just pay 10 times more. We're not going to do that anymore. We're linking our cities with gleaming highways and blazing fast broad walk. And if you think, and you look at the farmers of this country, what they've gone through with the broadband is so bad in the middle section, that beautiful middle section of our country. Our farmers, our ranchers are hurt very badly. So we're getting fast broadband networks, and we're carving them out and towering beautiful new monuments to American greatness that they will be. But our farmers have to be thought of also. Nobody thought of our farmers. Our farmers are incredible, and they're doing an incredible job. Doing an incredible job. So for the farmers out there, broadband, here we come, broadband. They've been trying to get it for a long time, many years. Together we're building our incredible future with American hands, American heart, and American steel. As your president, I'm more determined than ever that America's infrastructure will be second to none. And in Georgia, you're going to have an infrastructure, and you're going to have some projects announced that almost all of the people in this room do not know about. Most people have given up on them, Brian. I think they've given up. They gave up with the rest of them. But we have some things planned in Georgia that'll be really incredible. And everybody's going to want it. Both Democrat, by the way, and Republican. The problem is nobody was able to get it done. We get it done. One thing I know how to get it done. Because under this administration, we will always put America first. We were putting other countries first. Now we're putting America first. So I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank and congratulate UPS on having a great run, many years, but a great run recently. You've done a fantastic job, whether it's Skybridge or anything else we've done with you. You've been fantastic. I really appreciate it. But especially I appreciate a state called Georgia. It's a special place. It's a place. And it's an honor to be with you, and it's an honor. This is where I'm announcing. This is good for the whole country, not only Georgia. This is for the whole country, but I'm announcing it in Georgia because we have some great things planned for you. You are special people. Mr. Governor, thank you very much. Marty, thank you very much. Everybody, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good time. Thank you.
All right, everybody, again, that was President Donald Trump at UPS in Atlanta, Georgia. Pretty fired up crowd there of employees. And look at that UPS truck, and you got the boxes there in the background. President Trump unveiling some transportation infrastructure reform. making those truck drivers pretty happy there in Atlanta. If you happen to miss any of it, I will clip it on YouTube. Meanwhile, though, I'm going to bring you back out here to Maricopa County, Arizona, where we're getting a coronavirus update. It's still going on live, but I have been recording since the beginning.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, so it sounds like we're ready to go. Are you guys ready to go? Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Maricopa County press briefing for Wednesday, July 15th. My name is Fields Mosley. I'm the communications director for Maricopa County, also the lead public information officer during this incident command. So we'd like to thank all the reporters. They're joining us either through the live feed we have here. We also have many of you joining us by Facebook or YouTube or on the webinar. We appreciate reporters being here, members of the public, to get some information this week on a particular subject. So thank you so much for being with us. You know, it was last month that the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors approved several broad categories for the CARES Act money that was given to Maricopa County by the federal government, by Congress. Those include, among many things, homeless response and prevention, and also small businesses. The total dollar amount of those two categories so far, anyway, is more than $63 million. So today, the director of Maricopa County Department of Human Services, Bruce Liggett, will explain the rental assistance program that just launched on Monday. We have a lot of partners involved in this, and he'll explain a little bit more, but we certainly anticipate this will help out more than 6,000 households in Maricopa County. Afterward, I'll give you a brief update on the small business and small nonprofit grant program that launched last Thursday, and another large program that we're doing with the help of partners as well. So I'll give you an update on where we are in that and how much money has already gone out in response to those applications. And then we will open it up to questions. I do have Dr. Rebecca Sonnenschein. She is our medical director and infectious disease specialist at Maricopa County Department of Public Health. She is available to answer some questions if your questions are public health oriented today. We, of course, planned the presentation about the small business program as well as the rental assistance program. So we hope you'll direct most of your questions into those areas. Quick reminders for members of the media who have questions on the webinar today. We use GoToWebinar. Obviously, you know that. You're in right now. As many of you know, sometimes when you click to raise your hand, the program doesn't react right away. Give it a second. But if you're having continual problems with the software, go ahead and log out, log back, and we'll try to get to your questions. When you raise your hand, please unmute your phone or your computer so we can hear you when we unmute you on this end, and so we can hear your questions here in the room. Please ask one question at a time. That's a little bit easier for us to answer. And Joanna Molina is also here from Public Health. She will be translating into Spanish. That's also very important. So if you ask one question at a time, we're almost always able to get around to those second and third questions. So we'll do our best to get with you there. So finally, our interpreter, Sarah, has a new clear mask, and we're trying out this newer mask. But facial expression is very important for grammar when it comes to American Sign Language. She is going to use this new mask, and we hope that it works. But if she has a tough at some point during this, just because it fogs up or anything else, or it's uncomfortable, she will do that only because we certainly have a degree of distance here, and it would only be so she can express properly in American Sign Language and make sure everybody's understanding what we're saying to that today. So I invite Bruce Liggett to come up and talk a little bit about the rental assistance program that just kicked off.
Thank you, Fields. As Fields said, June, the Board of Supervisors approved funding for rental assistance for families who are experiencing financial hardship due to COVID-19. The goal is to minimize any disruption of families and their households, any displacement or evictions. That's the overall goal. We estimate to serve up to 6,000 families who have rental obligations between March and December. That, of course, depending on the rate at which we expend the funds. So based on fund availability, the program can continue through December. The county COVID rental assistance program will not be operating in Phoenix and Mesa. They directly receive their own CARES funding. So the program is administered by the County Human Services Department. And what we're doing differently, it's a big county, 4.5 million people, spread out, large distances. So we rely on the network of local service providers, both cities, towns, and nonprofits, to deliver, as we have through our Community Action Program for decades. We've got 11 different entities that are working with us on this. Cities such as Avondale, Gila Bend, Surprise, Tolleson, Guadalupe, Scottsdale, and Glendale. And nonprofit agencies, Tempe Community Action, Ascend in Chandler, and FSL that is serving Wickenburg and Peoria. So those are the local agencies that are going to be administering the program on our behalf. We've allocated some of the $30 million, up to $2 million, for funding for additional staff, and we estimate that we're going to have between 75 and 80 people working on this program throughout the county. We've operated multiple grants for a long time, serving a variety of needs to low-income families and households. It's a complex array, but by applying through community action programs, they can also access 7 different utility assistance programs we operate and 2 other rent assistance programs that we operate. So one of the objectives was to simplify this as much as possible and yet be clear that we're operating a program with integrity and we're taking serious our role as fiscal stewards. So there was a balancing act. We don't want something so complicated that it slows down the process and get to the people that have an urgent need. And we understand the devastating social, economic, and personal impact of the COVID-19 crisis on so many of our county residents. We also are aware of the expiration of the federal and eviction moratoriums and the likely run out of the extended unemployment insurance benefits, all hitting at the end of July. It was really important for us in an incredibly short period of time to bring up a program before those dates hit and to be fully up by August when we expect a large number of people request assistance. So the funds are only going to be available for 5 months, and it's a lot of money in a 5-month period. We're going to have to be spending at a $6 million per month clip to utilize all the funds. And yet we're aware of other programs that in a very short period of time have had more applicants than the funds they had could support throughout the country. That's been happening. We're going to monitor the utilization of these funds on a regular basis, daily, weekly. We can probably have monthly reports as we begin to roll this out, and we're going to make adjustments, and we're going to change program requirements if necessary also, if some prove to be too burdensome. So what's different this than the other programs that we run, the anti-poverty programs we run, some of the features are this is a higher level of eligibility than our typical programs that are poverty level or maybe 200% of the poverty level. This income was set at 100% of the area median income, which is equivalent to 300% of the poverty level. We're going to pay set amounts of money. The calculations to determine what amount is due and what part may be fees and other items also slows down the process. So we're going to pay $1,500 a month. We determine that number by looking at median cost for rents for apartments, 2-bedroom, that can support a family, as well as rental homes, and that's how we determine that. We're going to landlords directly, so landlords will verify that that is the amount due to them. They'll submit that will do that. And also, based on the demand that we expect, we're making a point that retroactive payments are going to be allowed. We think we have limited documentation required in terms of just evidence of the COVID impact on the family, which is required by the federal funding source, the CARES Act fund, photo ID, lease agreement, and household income. There is no family share of costs program. And I mentioned early utility assistance, so we're going to be bundling our services. Many families can all qualify for help with their utility bills during this time. We feel if we provide comprehensive to family, they'll be better able to prevent evictions and be better able to support their family. The beauty of working with the local agencies in their communities, they're known, they've got a great reputation for delivering high quality service and access other services in their community. Transportation services, food bank, clothing banks, those kind of things. So we're going to make available to families who apply broader services if they request those. If not, if they just want rental assistance, they'll be able to do that. So the demand is unknown. I think we've all seen estimates that have been there will be a minimal impact up to hundreds of thousands of people impact. So we're going into an uncharted territory in terms of what we'll know. But we know that there's hundreds of thousands of renters in the area of Maricopa County, exclusive of the city of Phoenix and Glendale. Over 300,000 renters in the area. So we also are aware that local communities themselves are developing rental assistance programs. So we're going to work with some of the other funders to put together a comprehensive list of all the different sites for everyone in Maricopa County where they can go to get assistance, to try and clarify for that. Applications are going to be taken and served on a first-come, first-served basis. We're committed to doing this as quickly as possible.